Coming up on 5 Minute News. Democrats celebrate a blue wave and maintain Senate control. Bomb blast kills 6 people in Istanbul. And Volodymyr Zelenskiy claims 400 Russian war crimes in Kherson. It's Monday, November 14. I'm Anthony Davis. Democrats were celebrating on Sunday after retaining control of the U.S. Senate, defying Republican hopes for a red wave in the midterm elections, and turn their attention to Georgia, where a runoff contest could strengthen their hand in Congress. Democratic leaders portrayed the better-than-expected performance as vindication of their agenda and a rebuke of election denialism and extremist candidates on the right, even as Republicans edged towards control of the House of Representatives with a handful of key races yet to be called. Senate control was clinched late on Saturday by Nevada Senator Catherine Cortez Masto, who defeated former Nevada Attorney General Adam Laxalt, who was endorsed by former President Donald Trump. That put Democrats in charge of a 50-50 Senate by virtue of Vice President Kamala Harris holding the tie-breaking vote. A Democratic victory in a Georgia runoff on December 6 between Democratic Senator Raphael Warnock and Republican challenger Herschel Walker would give the party outright majority control, bolstering its sway over committees, bills, and judicial picks. We're focusing now on Georgia. We feel good about where we are, President Joe Biden said on the sidelines of a meeting of Southeast Asian heads of government in Cambodia on Sunday. Republicans, however, remained close to seizing control of the House as officials continued counting ballots, with returns still flowing in for several races, including many in liberal-leaning California. As of Sunday, Republicans had won 211 seats and the Democrats 206, with 218 needed for a majority. It could take several days before the outcome of enough House races is known to determine which party will control the 435-seat chamber. A bomb rocked a bustling pedestrian avenue in the heart of Istanbul on Sunday, killing 6 people, wounding several dozen, and leaving panicking people fleeing the fiery blast or huddling in cafes and shops. Emergency vehicles rushed to the scene on Istiklal Avenue, a popular thoroughfare lined with shops and restaurants that leads to the iconic Taksim Square. In one video posted online, a loud bang could be heard at a flash scene as pedestrians turned and ran away. Turkish President Erdogan called the blast a treacherous attack and said its perpetrators would be punished. A suspect was arrested by the early hours of this morning. The person who planted the bomb has been arrested, Interior Minister Süleyman Soylu said in a statement broadcast by the official Anadolu news agency. According to our findings, the PKK terrorist organization is responsible, he said. Sunday's explosion was a shocking reminder of the anxiety and safety concerns that stalked the Turkish population during years when such attacks were common. The country was hit by a string of deadly bombings between 2015 and 2017, some by the Islamic State group, others by Kurdish militants who seek increased autonomy or independence. In recent years, Erdogan has led a broad crackdown on the militants, as well as on Kurdish lawmakers and activists. Amid skyrocketing inflation and other economic troubles, Erdogan's anti-terrorism campaign is a key rallying point for him ahead of presidential and parliamentary elections next year. Numerous foreign governments offered their condolences, including neighbouring Greece, with which relations are tense. While the Kurdish militants known as the PKK are considered a terrorist organization by Turkey, the United States, and the European Union, critics say Erdogan himself has also used broad terror laws to stifle free speech. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskiy has accused Russian soldiers of committing war crimes and killing civilians in Kherson, parts of which were retaken by Ukraine's army last week after Russia pulled out. Investigators have already documented more than 400 Russian war crimes. Bodies of dead civilians and servicemen have been found, Zelenskiy said in his nightly video address on Sunday. The Russian army left behind the same savagery it did in other regions of the country it entered, he said. Mass graves have been found in several places across Ukraine since the start of the invasion on February 24, including civilian bodies showing evidence of torture discovered in the Kharkiv region and in Bucha near Kiev. Ukraine accused Russian troops of committing the crimes. A United Nations commission in October said war crimes were committed in Ukraine and that Russian forces were responsible for the vast majority of human rights violations in the early weeks of the war. Ukrainian troops arrived in the center of southern Kherson region on Friday after Russia abandoned the only regional capital it had captured since Moscow launched its invasion. This marks Moscow's third major retreat of the war and the first to involve yielding such a large occupied city in the face of a major Ukrainian counter-offensive. You can subscribe to 5 Minute News on YouTube with your preferred podcast app. Ask your smart speaker or enable 5 Minute News as your Amazon Alexa flash briefing skill. Subscribe, rate and review online at 5minute.news. 5 Minute News is an Evergreen podcast covering politics, inequality, health and climate, delivering independent, unbiased and essential world news daily.